Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Before I Go podcast. Let's talk about the idea of competition. Who are you competing with? By nature, I think I am a pretty competitive person. Not in an obsessive, aggressive, or obnoxious way, but if I am involved in some type of game or activity where there is a winner, I want to be that winner. I don't seek out opportunities to compete, but if one presents itself, I'll participate. In the past, I was not always the best winner. I could gloat and brag just a bit longer than I should, but it was all in good fun. I ran track in high school, and I was not the fastest person on the team by any stretch of the imagination, but I do have one picture of me crossing the finish line first during a race, and it is still 40 years later, a huge sense of pride for me. I also still remember how I felt when I became a professional figure competitor at the age of 50 and took home that first place trophy. Fun fact, the trophy is actually a very large, very sharp sword. I worked hard, I competed, and it paid off. What happens, though, when competition is no longer in good fun or when it doesn't pay off? I remember once in my late 20s, I was at a picnic with some friends, and somehow or another, I decided that I wanted to run a race with one of the guys that was there. I was talking a lot of trash that day, and I was convinced that I was going to smoke this guy in this race. The race started and I took off, and I was running so hard and so fast because I was determined that I was going to win this thing. Well, somehow my feet got tangled up in each other and I fell and busted my ass. It was more embarrassing than anything, and the only thing that was hurt was my pride. And this is a clear example of when competition can go wrong. Now, I believe healthy competition can be a good thing. However, there is a point when it cannot be such a good thing and can even be considered toxic. In my opinion, this usually happens when people are competing for things that, in the big picture, can be considered inconsequential or even irrelevant. Doing things for clout, so to speak. Now, this goes hand in hand with one of my favorite quotes: "Comparison is the thief of joy." When we are so busy looking at what everyone else is doing and trying to figure out how we can one-up them. Whenever I would have to do some type of oral presentation, I would always volunteer to go first, not just because I wanted to get it out of the way or because I love public speaking, but I knew that if I went first, then I wouldn't be able to compare myself to anyone and I could just do my thing. We spend so much time looking at how green our neighbor's grass is that we don't even realize that if we would just water our own grass, it would be green too. Mind the business that pays you and stop worrying about what everyone else is doing. When I first started bodybuilding 10 years ago, I had a terrible habit of watching the other people in the gym. I wanted to see how I compared. I would end up either feeling bad that I wasn't on their level or puff up my chest because they weren't lifting as much as I was. Both reactions were detracting from my own progress. I had to learn that the other people in the gym were not my competition, and that maybe the person that was lifting more than me had been working out for years, or maybe the person who wasn't lifting as much as me was just starting out or recovering from an injury. The point is, none of it had anything to do with me. I had to learn to focus on competing with myself and working hard to be better than the person I was last week. The only competition I truly had and have is the person in the mirror. Seth Godin, who is the author of the book Tribes, says, "The problem with competition is that it takes away the requirement to set your own path, to invent your own method, to find a new way. When you have competition, it's the pack that decides what's going to happen next. You're merely trying to get or stay in front." The fundamental problem with with unhealthy competition is that it pushes the idea in order for me to win, you have to lose. So instead of me concentrating on me winning, maybe I do everything in my power, fair or unfair, to make sure that you lose. Or worse, if you win, not only does it mean that I lose, it also means that somehow something is taken away from me. When in reality, you winning doesn't take anything from me. If anything, you winning should give me hope that at some point I can win too. Unhealthy competition distorts reality. It can stop people from doing things because all they're thinking about is the competition. You may right now have a great idea for a business, a product, a book, a podcast, whatever it is, but you hesitate to move forward because you don't think you can compete, or you think that the market is saturated, or you think that no one would be interested in you and your idea. That is so not true. There is room for everyone, and I promise you, someone is out there waiting for you to come out with whatever it is that you're sitting on. No one can do what you do. No one can offer the specific thing that you can offer because it's yours and yours alone. Don't let the fear of competition stop you. Stop making that person wait for the thing that only you can do. And as an aside, while we're on the topic of competition, ladies, can we please stop competing with each other for the attention of men? Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie said in her TED Talk, "We raise girls to see each other as competitors, not for jobs or for accomplishments, which I think can be a good thing, but for the attention of men." This can be so destructive, and it makes me sad to watch women go at each other for the attention of someone who in the end ain't even thinking about you. That's all I have to say about that. Competition can be a good thing, but I would definitely recommend that we leave it to the people who are being paid to compete. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening. But before I go, let me share this with you from Zen Shin. A flower does not think of competing with the flower next to it. It just blooms. I'll see you next time.